I'd like to call the meeting to order. Pastor Sluter, would you please come forward and give us a prayer? We need it.
Thank you. I'm Pastor Robert Sluter, and I'm proud to represent the First District, our church on Central Avenue. I'm going to start our prayer by reading Psalms chapter 103, just as a foundation. Lord, we pray this. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, and bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, all my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Lord, we just take time right now, and we thank you for the great benefits that we have to live in such a great country. This past weekend, we celebrated and remembered the freedom we have because of the price that was paid by those that perished in serving our country. We ask you, Lord, to let us remember these freedoms and to do our very best to serve you and to serve one another. Just a few weeks ago, we met in this same room at the mayor's prayer breakfast. What a great day that was to lift up your name and to pray for this city. Ask you, Lord, to lead those in leadership today. Let them have great conversation and make great decisions for our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Sluter. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Gina, would you start us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Councilperson Podgorski.
Here.
Councilperson Geisfers.
Here.
Councilperson Clem.
Here.
Councilperson Williams.
Here.
Councilperson Gully.
Here.
Councilperson Zilli.
Here.
We have the approval of the minutes from the May 4th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have communications, correspondence, and announcements from the mayor. I do have a proclamation that I would like to read this evening. City of Portage, Office of the Mayor, Portage, Indiana, proclamation to all whom these presents may come greetings. Whereas in June of 1969, patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City staged an uprising to resist the police harassment and persecution to which LGBTQ Americans were commonly subjected. This uprising marks the beginning of a movement to outlaw discriminatory laws and practices against LGBTQ Americans. And whereas President Clinton on June 2nd, 2000 declared June as Gay and Lesbian Pride Month, and on June 1st, 2009, President Barack Obama expanded the declaration further by declaring June as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. And whereas the LGBTQ community has worked tirelessly in pursuit of equality and their very right to exist. Their battles have been made in the courts and the communities throughout our country, fighting for marriage equality to the equal protection under the law in their everyday lives. And whereas all people, regardless of age, gender, identity, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical challenges, have the right to be treated based on their intrinsic value as human beings. Therefore, I, Sue Lynch, Mayor of the City of Portage, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2021 as LGBTQ Pride Month in the City of Portage, and encourage all of our residents to eliminate prejudice wherever it exists, to celebrate our great diversity throughout this city, and to treat our LGBTQ neighbors with respect and dignity. In testimony thereto, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the Great Seal of the City of Portage in the state of Indiana this first day of June 2021. Is anyone here to accept this? I know there was a young woman who contacted me, and I told her we would be reading it tonight. Alejandra, if you are here, you can come forward and get this. Okay, we'll keep it for her, and we'll send it off to her. Thank you, everyone. We have the clerk treasurer's report.
So I passed out the highway report. There's much more detail to it, but this is the summary sheet if you guys wanted to take a look at that. Also, I want to let you know we've received of the $190,000 penalty and interest from the 1095Cs from 2016. We've received back 176,101.66. Me and Dan can't really figure out their math. But it's a really good chunk. So
Good job, Nina and Dan,
Excellent.
on getting that money back for us. Appreciate you working on that.
we also, I got notification from the Indiana Bond Bank from when we borrowed last year during the midterm part of the bond what they offered because of COVID. The interest that we paid, which wasn't much, $492.94, we are getting back.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Nina.
Every little bit helps.
And Madam Chairman, if I could sort of build on that, Madam
Yes.
Mayor. So just to update the council, as the clerk treasurer indicated, we had a formal appeal on the 2016 penalties. We got our refund because of we successfully won that appeal. The 2018 is still under appeal, and I will keep the council and the clerk treasurer.
In 2017, we skipped.
And how much are we looking at for those 2 years?
Well, 2017, I got a pat. I got correspondence from them that says we were good.
Okay.
The 18s, at this point, it's like 64,000.
I think that's about right.
Great job saving the city money because we did not foresee us getting that back. That was really good news. So we have reports from the city officials. I'd like to call Lori, our superintendent of parks, here because I know she's got several things going on. She's got music, she's got old-time cars, so we're going to get her out here.
Good evening. A little update on our Parks Department. Our Portage Parks Cruise Night began last month and will continue here at Woodland every Tuesday night from 4 to 8 through the end of August, and it's free. So if you have an old car, bring it out and hang out with us. Portage Live Entertainment and the Portage Parks Department have partnered once again to bring music in the park back to Woodland this summer. It begins tonight, as you can hear it downstairs, and will continue every Tuesday through the end of August from 6 to 7:30. It is also free. Seating is provided, and concessions and cash bar are available. Our Market on the Square started a couple weeks ago. It's every Friday night down at Founders Square. It will continue through the end of August from 3 to 9 p.m. Live music at 6. The movie nights will be added to it starting this Friday, and this week's movie is Neverending Story. For a list of our movies for this summer, you can check out our Facebook page or our website. We had our Wine and Canvas event at the lakefront last week. It is always a wonderful event with a great atmosphere. We will host 2 more of those this year. Our daddy-daughter dance and our mother and son events we hosted last month both went very well. We were very excited to have those. Our daddy-daughter dance is usually in February, but we had to postpone it till May because of COVID. Our spring youth soccer is going well and finishes up this coming weekend. Registration for fall will be opening in July. Our indoor youth volleyball program was a huge success. We will be continuing that. We will host another session this fall. Our spring adult softball is in full swing and will continue through July. We also have weekend tournaments. Weekends are booked at Imagination Glen all the way through the end of August. And with all that extra traffic at Imagination Glen, we brought in $13,079 last month, in the month of May, just in concessions alone, which is $13,079 more than last year. And taking a 4-year average for the 4 years before that, it is a 52% increase from the average of the previous 4 years. So far, knock on wood, we're having a great season. Our splash pad opened last weekend and will operate every day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. through Labor Day weekend. And rentals are really starting to pick up, thank goodness, and we hope that continues. Regarding our weeds and landscaping crew, we've hired a great crew of people who are eager to work, and they've been out working on different areas the past couple of weeks, and they will start spreading mulch this week. And lastly, we are still hiring. If you know anyone looking for part-time seasonal employment, please send them my way. Any questions?
You're busy.
Yes.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks to your weed crew, they're doing a much better job than we were last year. Chief Candiano. I wonder if they can shut those doors down. This is the reason we're getting a new council chambers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am actually going to be short today, just for Dan. We have a special night tonight. We have a swearing in of 2 of our new officers, so I'll be pretty brief. I sent you all some information. I'll go over here real quick. Total incidents for the month of May were 3,009, which comes out to an average of about 97 incidents per day. That's got us at about 14,254 for the year. So as opposed to last year, we were at 12,669. So obviously up from last year. Last year was a weird year. So I went back to 2019 just out of curiosity, in case somebody asked about that, and pretty much on par with what was happening in 2019 to 2021. So I also sent you all some the numbers for the types of calls we were dealing with arrests and different charges and stuff. As seems to be the case almost every month, it's problems with narcotics, operating while intoxicated, domestic batteries, things like that. So not much has changed there. So just a couple of points of interest for our calls of service. Again, they're continuing to go up as the summer goes up. That's usually the trend. The warmer it gets, more people go out, we get busier. So I would expect that this will continue to be our busy time of the year as we're going into the summer. And as I said before, we're up about 16 calls per day over last year. Of those calls, we responded about 180 disturbances last month. and 63 reckless driving complaints, which resulted in a large number of, like I said, domestic battery and DUI arrests. So, unfortunately, the trend is still going on with officers being assaulted. We're up to 8 now for this year, and we had 2 additional last month, and we've got 3 officers that are still out with injuries they've incurred throughout the year. So, brings me into my next issue. It's a broken record every month. I'm up here telling you about our staffing issues. One of these months I'm going to say it's great. This is not the month. We're still having some problems. We're currently running with about 12 officers short in our patrol division, which is about a fourth of our staffing in our patrol division. We have 6 officers that are currently in field training, which is a great thing. However, we're going to lose 4 of them to the Law Enforcement Academy in August. So about the time that they start getting most of their training done, we're going to lose them for a couple months. So in addition to that, we've got the 3 officers that are out with work-related injuries, unknown timetables on them, and 3 other officers that are out with major illness. And then we're losing an officer in August for a military deployment. I think he's going to be gone for about a year. So again, I come up here and say the same thing every month. We're doing what we can. It is what it is. There's really no way to fix any of it until we get people back. We can't train them any faster. So we're swearing in 2 new officers tonight. There's nobody else to hire. It is what it is. We just need people to get healed up and get trained and get back out there. But we'll keep carrying on. So as for training, I did not bring the exact numbers. Training's difficult, obviously, right now with manpower because we can't really pull away from people working the road to train because our numbers are low. So we're doing what we can with trying to do some, in-house training, things like that. We're trying to do some online training and things like that to get that done. So last thing I got. With the staffing, I keep talking to you about all the different changes we've had. I know the mayor's been involved in swearing in a whole bunch of people, which is awesome to get new people in here. But every time we do that, we have to train them. And we've only got a limited number of officers that are field training officers. And I can't ever remember a time that we've had so many people training at one time. And so the pressure is really on these officers. They're constantly training, so you always got somebody in the car with you, somebody that you're responsible for in addition to yourself. So just want to give some props to them, our field training officers, because I think some of them probably feel like they've been training somebody for a year. Sometimes we look forward to that day where you get to come to work and be in a car by yourself, and they're not ever getting that experience. And like I said, we've got 6 in training right now, so that's just going to continue on. So kind of chose for them to be my my people that I wanted to recognize this month. So,
thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Darren, are you speaking for streets tonight?
Madam Mayor, City Council. I hope you all had a great Memorial weekend. I did. Just wanted to give you a little update on what we're doing. We've had 730 phone calls for the month of May. 1,155 drive-ins, 317 walk-ins, 255 emails, 136 bulk calls, and we passed out 305 yard passes and updated them for the next 2 years. We're currently doing crack sealing best that we can. We did about 15 miles so far. We had to stop. We had to go on with pothole patching. You can't give up one thing and do the other. So we are quite busy. It's Amnesty Week. So once we're done with Amnesty Week, we'll get back to crack sealing, and then it'll be up to paint striping soon. So we're going to continue our weed control measures. We hit the dog park and the softball field fences today, along with other things, medians and islands. And mosquito spraying starts tonight. I hope a lot of people are going to be very happy about that. I've seen them planted on my door. So that's about all I have. I don't know if you have any questions or anything.
Do you have any questions?
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Is AJ here?
No. He's not here.
I think he did submit a report to you. Yes. And since AJ's not here, I do want to say a couple of things. We have a lot of roads being paved right now, so please be patient. I know it's very frustrating to have to dodge around everything, but we have been very blessed to get community crossings money. We've gotten $3 million in the last year, which is doubled because of the wheel tax money, so that gives us $6 million to pave. We've got some money into the congressman, some plans to move Willow Creek and Central Avenue West. So we have a lot of projects going, so just be patient because I think you'll love it when it's done. We're finding a lot of problems with the roads that we are paving. They were soft underneath, there was no base. We had that happen with Airport Road recently. We did the roll test on it, and it was just like a roller coaster. So they had to stop, tear it all out again, and build that base in there, because a lot of the things we're finding is that the road doesn't have a base, and there's no point in putting asphalt over a slushy road. So just be patient, we will get there. Randy, Fire Chief Randy.
Good evening, everyone. I sent everyone my report earlier today, so just go over that. I'm going to mimic what everybody else that's so far come up here has said. We had a busy month, so it seems like that's the norm now. We ended up with 519 total calls. 368 of them were ambulance and another 13 fires. For the year, that brings us up to 2,362 calls total. 1,678 of them were ambulance and 61 were fire calls. And out of that breakdown, I actually looked it up, and the 61 fire calls, 20 of them were actually structure fires. And then we just added another one today. So compared to last year, we had 1,893 total calls. So that's a difference of 463 calls. So we're up about 20% this year from last year. And then we also did an in-depth study of our mutual aid calls, and we actually had to dispatch mutual aid 38 times. Now that didn't bring everybody in, but I mean, it was actually, we actually had to tone somebody else out 38 times last month. So it just goes to show you just exactly how busy we are, and the definite need for us to get that third ambulance in service would be great. We did do 813 combined training hours. Our staff has done a great job. The company officers, the firefighters, everyone, they're committed to making sure that they're trained to know their job and keep it up. Even during the COVID, they've done a great job. So I want to say kudos to them for keeping it up. Also this week we actually have, our department is going to conduct the live burn training over at the MAC. So it'll be off-duty guys. They'll go out there and get themselves trained and do some actual live fire training. Not that we haven't had quite a bit so far this year, but again, we're still working with our older fleet. We have made up a maintenance team, and we picked some individuals that are mechanically inclined and willing to do some mechanical work, and they're going to be a team. We're going to send them to like pump maintenance school, emergency vehicle school, just the minor stuff that we can do in-house that can kind of keep it updated. And the team's going to be led by Chuck Litzkow, who has most of these certifications. He's been doing it all along for us. He just had some knee issues, and he's getting up there, so we figured we'd get him some help, and we've had some people step up to that too, so that's been really wonderful.
Nice.
We did have 2 firefighters graduate from our career academy last week, Grant Hunsley and Rick Nikos. So they're back on turn. Rick went directly to his turn. Grant will do a week or so of training just to get himself accustomed, and then he'll join his turn. So we're getting up there. We're still short one person. Well, we will be once the retirement is done. And we've exhausted our hiring list for this year already. So we are in the process of establishing another list. We are accepting applications all of this month. So if you need any information, you can call our administration office. We have packets there. And also if you go to Fire Chiefs at portage-in.com, we can send you an application too. So come one, come all, and they'll tell you all of our requirements that you need to get hired. Grant status, we're still waiting on the FEMA grants. They're really slow coming out, so can't really push them. We just wait and see what happens. But we are also working on a couple of other grants. We're going to try to update some of our rescue equipment because that's getting dated, and we're going to just start rotating that stuff out. And then also some gear for our dive team, some wetsuits, things like that. They're special grants that we're trying to get. I did tell you we were going to have a Healthy Kids Day and Bike Rodeo in conjunction with the YMCA. That has since been postponed because it's just kind of taken longer with the weather and everything through the Robbins Road extension. So their parking lot is tore up, and it would just been more of a hazard than a help. So Shannon Burhans decided it was probably best just to postpone it for a while. And then the last thing I have is attended the memorial service yesterday. It was really a nice service. There was a medical emergency that we had there. Fortunately, our ambulance crew was about 10 feet away from the patient, so our response time was awesome. So they treated the patient well. So I can't really go into more details, but everything went pretty well. So yeah, so kudos to those guys for being on the spot and doing a really good job. So unless you guys have any other questions.
Randy, when you're advertising to get applications in, are you going on Indeed and any of those other sites, or do you only go to special sites, or?
We're putting it anywhere we can find room. We're doing it, I should mention, we're also doing it in conjunction with Chesterton Fire Department. So we're doing a bunch of advertising, they're doing a bunch, and we separate our lists, so it's not one big bunch. But their resources to get the word out, our resources to get the word out. We've been plastering it on Facebook and anywhere we can get the word out. So everybody's hiring. All these fire departments, they're short people, so it's a big competition. So
I think what the mayor is maybe alluding to is maybe expanding our resources, looking into Indeed or ZipRecruiter, some of those sites that are pretty aggressive that can, and I don't have a clue what they cost. I've never personally used them, but it may be a way to reach out to broaden our search rather than just social media.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll, like I said, we'll look into anything we can. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So again, we want the best. We want the best crop of candidates that we can get. It just makes it easier for us to get quality candidates.
Scott and I were talking about that today, about, and I know I talked to Chick Candiano about a recruiting video. Do you have anything like that?
We do have some videos. They're a little bit dated. We have been talking. We just got new video equipment that actually for the Recruit Academy that they just finished. One of our recruits actually did the video using all of our new equipment. So we do have new equipment. We are learning how to use it, and that is one of our big plans. Is getting the video out and really pushing to show what we do and all the benefits to working with us.
Any other questions, guys? Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Did I miss anybody? No? Okay. We have reports of standing committees.
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I may, report on the ordinance committee. We met at our usual standing meeting time, which is at 5 p.m. prior to our council meeting each month. The topic this month was to initially discuss the smoking ban ordinance. Pardon me?
It's not a smoking ban, it's a smoke-free here.
Well, thank you. I'm just referencing what's on the agenda, sir. You'll get your opportunity to speak. And we discussed it. We appreciated the input from the community organizations and businesses. I want to report that the ordinance committee voted 2-1 not to recommend a favorable recommendation for the current ordinance that has been prepared for the first reading. So I want to reinforce that. We're referencing the recommendation for the current ordinance as presented. The other topic that we discussed were the other 3 ordinances that are going to be up for first reading this evening, and we reviewed them and support the ordinances as they will be presented this evening. That's our report.
Are there any questions?
No questions on ordinance committee, but did you want us to just talk about the Rescue Act committee and that we've met, we've put together our initial list, working with Baker Tilly, our consultants, on what we can and cannot use the funds for. So we'll be bringing that to the council. We have the ARP fund creation on the agenda tonight, and we'll be discussing the plan in future months. So.
Okay, is there any other committees to report? If not, we're going to go to unfinished business, and I'm going to turn that over to Colin.
Yes, thank you,
Because
Mayor.
we're
So
gonna
we have
move
the
our agenda around a little bit.
Yep. Actually, this isn't on the agenda. This is unfinished business from last month. This is the issue with the fire department that the fire union had brought up. So Dan, I don't know if you want to talk about it. We met in executive session, so the council knows what we discussed. Do you want to talk about where we're headed from here?
To some degree, President Tilly. So I've rendered a legal opinion to the council, moreover to explore the options that I think might be available. I've asked the council to review those options. I have called out and emailed out to the state to confirm that 1 or 2 of those options are even available. So for comfort zone, I'd like to get a response from them on that. I have not received it yet. But that's about as far down the rabbit holes I want to go, because I think the rest is attorney-client privileged.
Okay. So council, I think...
If I may.
Sure.
I think at this point it's in the best interest of the council for our law department to gather some more information so we can make a decision that is in the best interest of the city. So I make a motion to table a decision on this particular issue regarding compensation in the as it relates to the fire department.
It's not on the agenda, but if you want to table it, I can. Just
Well, I'll second the motion to table.
and that'll essentially put it on the agenda for next.
Right. I just, we have too many options in front of us to make a clear decision until we hear from the state. So I'll second the motion to table.
So we have a motion and a second to table. You should discuss at the executive session. Is there any further discussion? If not, Nina, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Councilperson Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilperson Pogorski?
Yes.
Councilperson Geisthurst?
Yes.
Councilperson Clem?
Yes.
Councilperson Williams?
Yes.
Councilperson Gully?
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli?
Yes.
Okay. We have the swearing in of Officer Gardenhire and Officer Olson. So if the council wants to join me out here too, that's fine. We'll swear our new officers in.
Yeah, I'm just going to stand right here. Bring the baby.
Bring the baby, I'll take the baby. Or take the pictures. Okay, so you will raise your right hand and state after me. I, Brandon M. Gardenhire, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, the Constitution and the laws of the state of Indiana, and that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as a member of the City of Portage Police Department to the best of my ability and according to the law. So help me God. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, John D. Olson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America and the laws of the state of Indiana, and that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as a member of the City of Portage Police Department, to the best of my ability and according to the law. So help me God. And then you can sign it. Hey, Mike.
Yes. You don't need to read it all. No, I just want this section not read that. And then we can.
They can sign them now, or if you want to give them to me, and then they'll all look like. Thank you. So we have the resolution 21-12 authorizing remote meetings. Colin?
Yes, I will go ahead and read that. Resolution 21-12, a resolution establishing the policy by which members of the Common Council may participate by electronic means of communication, whereas Public Law 88-2021 Section 5 amended IC 5-14-1.5-1 effective April 20th, 2021 by amending IC 5-14-1.5-3.5 to prescribe new requirements by which members of the governing body of a public agency of a political subdivision may participate in a meeting by any electronic means of communication, whereas a member of the governing body may participate by any means of communication that allows all participating members of the governing body to simultaneously communicate with each other, and except for a meeting that is an executive session, allows the public to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting, whereas the act requires the governing body to adopt a written policy establishing the procedures that apply to a member's participation in a meeting by electronic means of communication, and may adopt procedures that are more restrictive than the procedures established by IC 5-14-1.5-3.5D. And whereas the Common Council is the governing body of the City of Portage, Indiana. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana. Section 1A, the provisions of the Act, including definitions, apply to this resolution. B, the resolution shall be known as the electronic meetings policy of the council and applies to the council and any committee appointed directly by the council or its presiding officer. Section 2A, subject to sections 3 and 5, any member may participate in a meeting by any electronic means of communication that 1, allows all participating members of the governing body to simultaneously communicate with each other, and 2, other than a meeting that is an executive session, allows the public to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting. B, a member who participates by an electronic means of communication, 1, shall be considered present for the purposes of establishing a quorum and may participate in final action only if the member can be seen and heard. C, all votes taken during the meeting at which at least one member participates by an electronic means of communication must be taken by a roll call vote. Section 3A, this is probably the last section I'm going to read before reading it into the record. At least 50% of the members must be physically present at a meeting at which a member will participate by means of electronic communication. No more than 50% of the members may participate by an electronic means of communication at the same meeting. B, a member may not attend more than 50% of the meetings in a calendar year by electronic means of communication unless the member's electronic participation is due to 1, military service, 2, illness or other medical condition, 3, death of a relative, or 4, an emergency involving an actual or threatened injury to persons or property. C, a member may attend 2 consecutive meetings, a set of meetings, by electronic communication. A member must attend in person at least 1 meeting between a set of meetings that member attends by electronic communication unless the member's absence is due to 1, military service, 2, illness or other medical conditions, 3, death of a relative, or 4, an emergency involving actual or threatened injury to persons or property. Let the record reflect this has been read in its entirety. Motion to adopt.
Colin, could I add that you read section 5 because I think
yes,
section
sure.
5 is kind of important
Sure.
for the public to understand.
So Section 5, no member of the council may participate by means of electronic communication in a meeting at which the council may take final action to 1, adopt a budget, 2, make a reduction in personnel, 3, initiate a referendum, 4, impose or increase a fee, 5, impose or increase a penalty, 6, exercise the council's power of eminent domain, or 7, establish, impose, raise, or renew a tax. And I'm going to read section 6 too. A, if an emergency is declared by 1, the governor, or the mayor, members are not required to be physically present for a meeting until the emergency is terminated. Members may participate by any means of communication provided that 1, at least a quorum of the members participate in the meeting by means of electronic communication or in person. The public may simultaneously attend and observe the meeting unless the meeting is an executive session. 3, the minutes or memoranda of the meeting must comply with section 4 of this resolution. All votes taken during the meeting, at least 1 member participates by electronic means of communication, must be taken by a roll call vote. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to say, so this came from AIM over the weekend. The state recently changed the electronic meetings law, which was quite frankly pretty outdated. In the past, we were not allowed to participate in electronic meetings unless, I believe there was an exception that you couldn't vote and you weren't counted as a quorum, but you could be there. I've seen that done. So AIM sent this out as a recommended policy to comply with the new state law that if a member needs to be absent due to illness, that they could join remotely. So for us, now, we would have the person up on the TV screen, you would see them on the live stream, Z would graciously get that going for us. In the new council chambers, the same setup would be there. You'd be able to physically see and hear the person.
Right, they can't just have their telephones.
Right, you have to be able to see the person and hear them in order for them to participate.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have the transfer resolution 21-13.
Yes, Ferdinand, please take that.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Oh, it's the electronic version. Resolution 21-13, transfer resolution. Whereas it is now necessary to transfer appropriation balances within the 2021 budget. Now be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Portage approves the following appropriation transfers within the 2021 budget. Appropriation number, appropriation title, and amount. From the local option income tax fund number 209, an unappropriated balance in the amount of $164,000 to the general fund number 101 under appropriation title Police Officer Wages in the amount of $164,000. Let the record show that the resolution has been read in its entirety. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Are there any questions? Any further discussion?
Nina, could you just explain where the 164 is coming from and why it's going where it's going?
Yep, so earlier this week, last week, we had received a little over $266,000 from supplemental lit distribution. The city had recently settled the police contract, so this allows us to cover the cost of the contract.
Great.
Okay, are there any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Interlocal agreement with the City of Hobart.
Dan, do we need to read this into the record?
No, so what I would suggest, if I could just take a second to explain why it's here, Madam Mayor, if you don't mind.
No?
So I had the Board of Works approve this already since it's an agreement and contract. Under the state statute, certain interlocal agreements require fiscal body approval. One of those instances is if there's a financial outlay or commitment. This interlocal agreement does not call for a financial commitment from the city. This is something that Hobart needs. They are doing some improvements on County Line Road, getting some grants, and an interlocal agreement was needed for them. The reason I'm bringing it in front of you is that there is a section that says if we as the city want some upgrades, then we have some financial commitment to do that if we decide we want more than what they're doing. So I thought it best, rather than scramble back around to get that done then, we'll just go ahead and have the fiscal body approve it tonight. And no, you can do it by title only, Mr. President.
So, Dan, and this is from US 6 to Cleveland?
That is
right?
correct.
Okay. And it would be both sides of County Line?
That's correct.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and read this. Interlocal agreement by and between the City of Hobart, Indiana and the City of Portage, Indiana for reconstruction of County Line Road from US 6 to Cleveland Avenue. Let the record reflect this has been read in full. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Are there any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have the introduction of ordinances. First reading, ordinance 20-14.
Yes, Debbie, could you please read that?
Sure. Ordinance 20-14, an ordinance amending the 2021 salary ordinance of the City of Portage. Be it, and it hereby is ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, hereafter the council as follows. Section 1, Ordinance Amendment. The section entitled Full-Time Salary and full-time hourly positions of the 2021 salary ordinance currently written shall hereby be amended to the following. Police Department, Master Patrolman with more than 32 years shall be renamed Senior Master Patrolman. Section 2, Ordinance Amendment, Section 2 of the 2021 salary ordinance currently written shall hereby be amended to the following. Unless otherwise agreed to in collective bargaining agreement for different rates and effective dates, all non-elected employees and appointed officials of the City of Portage shall receive additional compensation paid bi-weekly as set out below for the length of continuous employment with the City of Portage. At years of service. After 3 years, 1.75% of base wage. After 8 years, 2.25% of base wage. After 13 years, 3% of base wage. After 18 years, 3.5% of base wage. After 24 years, 4% of base wage. Let the record reflect this has been read in its entirety. Motion to suspend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any discussion? If
Sure,
not-
I can briefly just explain. So the first section is just cleaning up language we discussed with the ordinance committee to match the police contract. So the actual title is Senior Master Patrolman in the contract. So we're changing that language to match. And then the second section, you'll recall we added in language that says unless a bargaining agreement differs from the ordinance on longevity at the last meeting. We went ahead in consultation with Nina's office. It's very hard to have different longevity amounts across departments. So the budget committee, or the budget chair, I should say, decided to present to the council to just standardize longevity and add the 24th year 4% for all employees across the board. We had negotiated that in the police contract. So instead of having Nina's office try to manually adjust for everybody, it was easier just to offer it across the board. So it'll be a small amount in terms of actual dollars because we don't have a huge amount of over 24-year employees, but at that 24th year, they would get an extra 0.5% on their longevity.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have ordinance 21-08.
Yes, Brian, would you please take that?
An ordinance of the City of Portage of Indiana amending Chapter 42, Article 1, the Municipal Code of the City of Portage, being and is hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana, as follows. Section 1, amend Chapter 42, Article 1, City of Portage Municipal Code, entitled Environment in General, shall be deleted in its entirety and replaced with the following. This is a 7-page document that I don't think everybody wants to hear me read. So it'll be available online for anybody to see it, and I can give it to anybody who wants to read it in its entirety. It has definitions and what qualifies as an enclosed place, but essentially Section 42-3, prohibition of smoking in enclosed public places. Smoking shall be prohibited in all enclosed public places within the City of Portage, including but not limited to. And then it also gives a exhaustive list. For me at my age growing up, it's been an established thing that smoking is dangerous, smoking is harmful. First-hand smoke, the smoker, and second-hand smoke is dangerous. It causes cancer. 9 years ago, the state took action and banned smoking in almost all public places, and they exempted a few places that for the last 9 years have still been allowed to allow smoking within an enclosed space. This ordinance for Portage would further, because the state gives us the ability to extend that to every enclosed building that serves the public, that it would ban smoking in those establishments as well. I think everybody is entitled to smoke-free air. I've enjoyed it better. I don't know about everybody else. There's no more smoking section and non-smoking section when you go to a restaurant. It's just in view of public health, this is just the right thing to do. Everybody is entitled to their freedom. as long as that freedom doesn't negatively impact the people around you, is the main crux here. Is that when you smoke, you're affecting everybody around you, whether you intend to or not. So as Scott said, the ordinance committee is going to take a further look at this and see if they can bring it up to where they're comfortable with it. And I hope that we're able to do it because I think it's something very important for the city.
And it is on the city website, so it's available. I put it up.
Is there any other discussion?
I would like to hear, I've been contacted by several locations in Portage that do allow the smoking, and I myself work in the health field, so I'm able to see both pros and cons, but I would love to, if anybody has any concern, to message me. I would love to hear, especially in my district, their views, their viewpoints.
So, Dan, you read that, but there's no...
It's just a first reading.
Just a first
Yep.
reading, okay. So we don't really vote or anything. Okay, moving on, we have ordinance 21-09, solid waste.
I will go ahead and just, actually, Pat, do you have it up? Can you read that real quick? I don't have it up.
Pat, he was asking you to read it.
Ordinance number 21-09. An ordinance in the city of Portage, Indiana, amending chapter 70, article 3 of the city of Portage Municipal Code entitled Solid Waste. Let the record reflect it has been read in its entirety. Motion to suspend.
Second.
So, Colin, do you kind of explain what this is for the public, the verbiage that's changed in your...
Right. I think, Dan, do we have to do the suspension first and then, or can we discuss before?
Why don't you do the suspension
Okay.
first,
Okay.
and then we'll dig into the weeds.
We have a motion and a second to suspend. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any discussion?
Yes, and actually, I'm just gonna, if Nina doesn't mind, if you want to explain these three, like, quick language changes.
Yes, so there was just, in section 1, it stated that, that senior citizens could apply for discounts on their utility bill at the Utility Service Board office at 6071 Central Avenue. No one's there. The Utility Service Board doesn't exist anymore, so it just changes the language to that, to read to the Clerk Treasurer's Office. Section 2, same thing. And then subsection B, it also eliminates the Utility Service Board and it puts the Sanitary Board as the board. And this is ahead of us establishing a sanitation fund. That's why I realized it. And that'll be next month. We essentially did it when we created the budget. We put in the sanitation fund, but there should really be a formal ordinance that spells
So
out.
actually what Nina's saying is we don't have a utility services board anymore. We have a sanitary board and a stormwater board. So we can't be telling people to go pay a bill at a utility services board when it doesn't exist. So
And-
basically that's all
Vacated
this is
building.
doing is just cleaning up some language.
Right, and the building just
Right.
isn't in
Building
use and will be
across the street
demolished.
from City Hall
Right.
is empty. So it's just changing the address from 6071 to 6070 Central Avenue. So I think that what we're doing is trying to get things cleaned up in the language in some of these ordinances. And I think that the ordinance committee, I have to commend them because that's a big job. We have a lot of ordinances that need cleaning up. And so they decided to take 2, 3, 4 at a time and work on them to get them cleaned up so that they're reflective of today's business. So that's what this is. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have the ordinance 21-10 establishing the ARP fund.
Yes. Scott, could you please read that?
Sure. Ordinance 2110, establishing the ARP fund, which is the American Rescue Plan Fund. An ordinance establishing the ARP, got a blank here, ARP Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. Whereas on March 11, 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 was enacted. And whereas the ARP provides $350 billion in emergency funding to state and local governments, and the City of Portage will be a recipient of that funding. Whereas the Indiana State Board of Accounts has provided guidance to funding recipients. Now therefore be it hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana. Section 1, Fund Established. This is hereby established a fund to be known as the ARP Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. Section 2, Sources of Funding. The source of funding includes monies allocated to the city from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 and distributed to the city in 2021 and 2022. Section 3, Uses of the funding. The city shall only appropriate and use the funds to cover costs incurred by the city by December 31st, 2024 for the following. 1, to respond to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits, or aid to impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. 2, to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers of the city that are performing such essential work, or by providing grants to eligible employers that have eligible workers who perform essential work. 3, for the provisions of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue of the city due to the COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year of the city prior to the emergency, that being 2019, or 4, to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. B, the Common Council shall adopt a plan which provides details for the use of funds. Let the record reflect that this ordinance has been read in its entirety. Motion to suspend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, quickly, I just wanted to point out in section 5 that this will exist until we terminate the fund by an ordinance, and that we cannot, monies from this fund cannot go into any other city fund. That the funds must be expended out of this fund as appropriated by us, the city council.
And I have created a ARP fund committee made up of 2 members of the council, which at the current time is the budget chair and the council president, the clerk treasurer, myself, and the city attorney. So we have already had a meeting and we're looking into every avenue of what we can and can't do with this money. Plus we've had meetings with our consultants, Baker Tilly in Indianapolis. So we have not received the money, so I think, Nina, you're anticipating that soon?
Mid-June.
Mid-June.
And then Nina,
we haven't even received the funds yet, and we only get half of the funds this year and half of the funds next year.
We have to have the fund established to be able to receipt it in.
Right. Yeah.
and then do we need to appropriate the funds to that fund, or does this appropriate them?
No, you'll have to appropriate it and determine the use for those funds when you appropriate it. And the DLGF doesn't have to review them, but it's the same process.
Right.
So there's still the advertisement, there's still,
So when we appropriate it, we don't have to have, like, because we're not going to have all the answers for
Right.
7.7 million, but we can just say the plan is to follow what's in the ARP guidance, right, when we appropriate it?
you still are charged with the responsibility of developing a plan.
It's like,
Right,
you
right.
have to do a plan, and as part of that, you have to appropriate funds coming.
Got it, okay. In terms of, oh, I'm sorry.
And how much was it that Portage was getting here? I didn't catch that.
A little over 7 million.
7 million?
Quickly, in terms of who will actually, have we determined who will actually approve claims on these funds? Okay,
I mean, at the end of the day, I have to sign off on all of them, but.
right.
But, and even still, if you want it to be a regular Board of Works item, you know, under like regular business, I can create a separate APV register. Which
So we can see exactly
Yes,
what
because
is
these funds
separate.
are going to be audited, federally audit forever. I
Okay.
mean, it's going to feel like forever, until it's gone. Yes. Yeah. And then whatever is not used, it's a reimbursement, it's not a reimbursement grant, it's you get it ahead of time, so it's still a grant. If we don't end up using all the funds.
You have to give it back.
You have to give it back. Yes, or if there's a,
We will use the
ineligible
funds.
expenses, yeah.
That is the goal.
They will not get the money back. The community will get their money.
So Nina, is there such a thing as like at the monthly council meetings, once we get the money, if for the sake of transparency for the taxpayers here, we can have like a monthly report of what's happening with that money?
I think it's a great idea because there is a transparency component to the law, you know, so they want your constituents to know what's being spent. So we might be able to have a spot on the website too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The new website.
Yeah. I think that's great, okay.
Not yet, we haven't voted.
We have, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes, that's set up. Petitions, remonstrances from the public. Is there anyone from the public who would wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
First, I want to apologize to Councilman Williams and the council for my interruption earlier.
Apology accepted.
My name is Antonio Gutierrez. I think you guys already know me from around. I live on 6998 Eisenhower Avenue. I wanted to come up and speak briefly because at the last city council meeting, there was a different gentleman who came up and spoke to you in a way that made me feel very bothered. This person seemed to me to suggest that the city of Portage is racist or otherwise discriminatory in either its hiring practices or in how residents of a minority background are treated by the local government. Maybe that's not what he meant to communicate, but it's what I felt when I listened to the comments. And in any case of you who got the same impression from that experience at your last meeting, I just wanted to come up and tell you that as a fifth-generation member of one of the first Latino families to move to what we call today the city of Portage, I know that you are all people who strive to judge others based on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. And I think the overwhelming majority of our city's residents, I lost my place, residents know that as well. I also think the majority of Portage residents want to know that our city employees are being hired first and foremost for their professional qualifications and work ethic rather than based on their ethnic background, cultural identity, or religious beliefs. While the diversity of our municipal workforce might not yet match the diversity of our city's overall population, I have no doubt that it will catch up in due time as our city leaders continue to build an environment that's both merit-based and welcoming to all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Megan Fisher. I represent the Porter County Tobacco Prevention and Education Coalition. My address is 51 City View Drive in Valparaiso. That's where I reside. And I wanted to make some comments regarding ordinance number 21-08 referencing the smoke-free air that was read earlier. I really believe that you as the council, a couple folks from the ordinance committee did make a recommendation against this ordinance. But speaking to the full council, You guys have the power and the responsibility to really prioritize the health and the safety of the residents of Portage. And not just the residents, but all of the employees and the patrons of all the businesses that are represented within Portage. This ordinance, a very simple, very strong languaged ordinance, will provide a level playing field amongst all the businesses. As was referenced earlier, many establishments are required to have smoke-free facilities. We have a few exceptions. And we need to have a level playing field for the sake of the folks that are entering those facilities, and so that everyone has the right to be employed in any establishment that they want to within the city of Portage. You are going to hear anecdotally from some businesses potentially that there could be an economic or a financial impact from this ordinance. And we are not aware of any credible study or statistic that suggests that there is a negative financial impact from smoke-free legislation or ordinance. In fact, I did mention at the earlier committee meeting that by decreasing insurance costs and decreasing maintenance costs from the operational budget, you are much likelier to see a positive financial impact on the bottom line of these businesses that go smoke-free. Any study that we have found that does make the claim that there's a negative economic impact is actually funded by the tobacco industry. So I urge you to check your sources of any studies that you do locate related to that claim. A lot of times people also mention that this is sort of an impingement on someone's rights. I'm actually personally an ex-smoker, and I'm very, very grateful to God every single day that I'm free of that addiction now. But I remember when I was a smoker, and there were non-smoking establishments when I was a smoker as well, and I was able to sit through a 2-hour movie at the movie theater and wait to go outside to have a cigarette. I was able to sit at a restaurant and have a meal with my family and wait to go outside to have a cigarette. I truly believe that having establishments that allow smoking is a larger impingement on my right to patronize any establishment without hazarding my health than it is an impingement on a smoker's right to ask them to merely step outside. All we're asking is step outside. We're not impinging your rights. You're only impinging a right as long as you are not, as was said earlier, impacting and harming others in the process of your activities and your choices. I also do want to urge you to consider the timing of this ordinance. It's very beneficial in the wake of this COVID pandemic that we're all battling. It is, the establishments that are currently allowing smoking are allowing eating and drinking, and now we have a third activity that is expelling air and exacerbating the risk of COVID transmission. So now is a very timely, poignant time for Portage to consider an ordinance like this to, again, protect the health and safety of the residents and the patrons. I really can't put it any better than Mr. Gully did just a few moments ago when he said, in view of public health, this is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak before the council?
Hi, I'm Carrie Higgins. I am actually the director of the Tobacco Prevention and Education Coalition for Porter County, all of Porter County. I myself can relate to small business and bars. I actually came from a family of bar owners. Bar owner money, my family's money, helped send me to college. I have a great respect for small business owners and bars, and we are not here trying to put anybody out of business. We are really here to try to help figure out how can we do this? How can we go completely smoke-free? How can we have smoke-free air for the health of all Portage citizens and workers, and do this in a way that we can also help those business owners become more profitable? We have many studies and studies that have studied studies to find out that either there is no economical impact on businesses that go smoke-free, or they improve and increase in business. When you go to a smoke-free establishment, you don't have to take in all of those negative toxins and things. We all know that. I don't need to lecture on those kinds of things. It's common sense anymore. However, What we're missing is the fact that at some of these establishments, only about 20% of our population over 21 can go in and enjoy themselves. The other 80% of folks 21 and over do not go to those establishments typically because of the smoke. If businesses were to go smoke-free, they would actually increase the number of folks who might consider going for food, for cocktails, for entertainment, which would improve their business. We have had businesses in the area that have seen that happen. So Martini's, for one, in Valparaiso has gone smoke-free. They've got nothing but praise. And I'll be glad to show anyone a screenshot I took of a review of their restaurant just recently where they were being scolded for not being able to keep up. And their statement was, we haven't been able to keep up since we went smoke-free because business is booming. That was their comment. So we urge you to really think about all of the other people, where those folks that are worried about losing that 20%. We don't want that 20% of their business to go away either. But if those patrons come there for food, they come there for drink, they come there for entertainment and camaraderie, then they should still come and support these local businesses. And I think the citizens of Portage and the patrons would rally around those businesses. We, as the coalition here in Porter County, would also rally around those businesses. We would help promote and market and encourage everyone in the area to continue and to now try those new businesses that have gone smoke-free. We might even be able to find some funding to help with some of those changes that go on. I know I personally have built funding into my current grant that I was just awarded in order specifically to help Portage businesses do that to the best of my ability. And we would be here with all kinds of training and support and things like that. The thing is, people will talk about the workers in those places as well, that they may not, well, they might smoke and they might be just perfectly fine. But the fact of the matter is 70% of smokers actually want to quit smoking. And we're not here to make them all quit smoking. We're here to provide them an environment where everyone could come, and it would also happen to support those smokers who might actually want to quit and become non-smokers. So there are a variety of reasons why we really hope that you would support this. We're really trying to help, and we are trying to get you to see that this is the right thing to do, and it's the right thing to do for the entire population of workers and residents in Portage. Thank you.
All right, my name is Denise Carpenter. I reside at 5955 Sunrise Avenue here in Portage. You've heard a lot from us, so I'm going to keep it brief. I just want to let you know I understand your concerns, and I understand your concerns about doing what you feel is best for your constituents. So I also want to let you know that we have been collecting petitions and sign cards for the last couple of years of your constituents that do say that they support this. So if you would like to see any of that data, we could provide that for you as well. It's broken down by district and the area, just to show you that there are very many people that support it, and I think that you'll find that the people that are against it are the loudest, but not the most, if that makes sense. There are more people who support it, they're just not as loud as those who don't. So thank you again for your time.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak before the council? Hi, Bob.
I think everybody knows my name and have my address memorized by now.
We do.
Anyway, I wasn't going to get up and speak until I'm an ex-smoker. And working in the health industry and environmental industry for most of my life before I became disabled, I know the state legislature took up the case of smoking in public places some years ago, and they left it in the hands of the State Board of Health, and the State Board of Health put it in the hands of the local county health departments. So it seems to me that this body should consult with the local county health department before they start going at people's businesses.
Yep.
You know, if you guys want to dictate to somebody how to run their business, open your own. You know, when is the council going to start working for the people instead of at the people? And I can give you tons of examples of how you go at the people. Like, for instance, this fireworks ordinance that you passed last month. That's one against the people. You're going to prevent people from celebrating Independence Day. You know, but yet you drive all over town and you see signs that are breaking ordinances all over town. Over on the corner of County Line and Stone Avenue, you got people that buy houses strapping their signs to stop signs now. Now, what I would like to know is when this, I'm an ex-smoker, I don't smoke anymore, but when does this ban take effect and who's going to enforce it? Because code enforcement is non-existent in this city unless you're a resident. But if you're an out-of-towner and you come in and you can do whatever you want and nobody does nothing. This city right now looks like an election year. It's sad. You know, you guys are supposed to be working for the people, not at the people. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further discussions? Anybody want to bring anything up? If not, are there any other matters to come before the council or council members who wish to speak? If not, I will ask for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.